Allah is my heart's speech, your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala nabiyyihi wa mustafa Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man walah wa ba'd. Dear brothers and sisters, welcome to any edition of Ask Huda. In the beginning, I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to teach us what we don't know and to help us to act upon what we learn. Ameen. Also, I'd like to remind you with our phone numbers, which begin with area code 002-0238-555, 248 or 249, and the email address is ask@huda.tv. I'll be more than happy to start taking your phone calls as soon as they arrive, inshallah. And I had a pending question from Suhaila from Egypt. And the question is from somebody on behalf of his wife. He said that my wife worked in a conventional bank and she decided to quit because it is haram. This is an excellent news, alhamdulillah, shukrullah. You know, the best thing that could happen to a person is to recognize the truth and to accept it and act upon it before it is too late. In the sound hadith, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Inna Allah idha ahabba abdan ista'mala." Whenever Allah likes one of His servants, He utilizes him. They said, "Ya Rasulullah, how would Allah utilize one of His servants?" He says, يُوَفِّقْهُ لِعَمَلٍ صَالِحٍ ثُمَّ يَقْبِضْهُ عَلَيْهِ. He will give him success and help him out to do a good deed, to stay continuously doing good deeds, then he will die in this condition. So for repenting, after recognizing that earning from riba is haram, and every flesh that was grown out of haram, the fire is more worthy with it. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept your tawbah. Their question now is that they bought a house from her earning. What should they do with this house? Do nothing. As long as this money was spent and you repented, فَلَهُ مَا سَلَفْ. You're not required to sell the house in order to donate this money or get rid of the contamination of riba in this wealth. Of course, this is the regular ruling. That is different than al-wara', which is piety and righteousness, where people like just to get rid of their entire wealth because it has haram in it, whether it is a little or a lot. But you don't have to sell your house. If you have savings out of that and you have any other source of income where you can rely on, you get rid of this saving. But if you don't, then you can use as much as you need out of the saving until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala finds a lawful way for you. Meanwhile, you're striving in order to find a lawful mean. May Allah accept your tawbah. But as I said, you don't have to sell your house. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Abu Fayyad from Qatar. Assalamu alaikum, Abu Fayyad.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Sheikh, I have one question regarding this udhiya. To offer the udhiya for this Eid al-Adha, is it allowed to offer the udhiya in the name of people who have passed away from this world, for example, parents and grandparents? If it is allowed to offer udhiya for the deceased people, we have to distribute into three parts, and for the poor people, relatives, or all the meat has to be distributed to the poor.
So obviously you're asking about al-udhiyah, right?
Hello?
You're asking about al-udhiyah.
This is sacrifice.
Yes,
That's correct,
al-udhiyah.
sir. The sacrifice what we give during the Eid.
Yeah.
The second question is regarding there's a practice in India that some people offer this sacrifice or al-udhiyah in the name of Prophet Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Is there any reference or is it valid?
Okay. Jazakallahu khairan. Thank you so much. Al-Udhiyah is an emphatic sunnah for those who can afford it, to slaughter a sheep or any of the cattle, a cow or a camel. For a camel or a cow, 7 people in a camel can have shares, 7 shares among 7 people, and that would be sufficient for them. But for a family, the least is to slaughter a sheep. What we say is, this is on behalf of the family father and those who are under his guardianship, if they can afford it. So it is not on behalf of those who passed away. But a person may give in a charity or feed the poor or slaughter an independent or a separate sheep or a cattle or whatever, or buy meat and distribute it and give the reward of this charity to the deceased. Grant or give this reward as a gift to the deceased. Because the charity, its reward reaches the dead person if you intend so, whether out of his wealth or out of your own wealth. As far as giving the udhiyah on behalf of the Prophet ﷺ, you don't have to. Similarly, it is not prescribed to perform Hajj or Umrah on behalf of the Prophet ﷺ. Why? Simply because every good deed that we do, every single good deed that we do, whether it's a fard or nafl, prayer or charity or whatever, a similar reward of this good deed which is done by every believer reaches the Prophet ﷺ, because he's the greatest guide. وَالدَّالُّ عَلَى الْخَيْرِ لَهُ أَجْرُ فَاعِلِهِ. So if an individual who's an ordinary person, when he guides somebody to something good and he starts practicing that thing, he gets rewarded for that, and also the person who guided him gets a similar reward without diminishing the reward of either one of them. So the Prophet ﷺ gets a similar reward of every believer for every good deed they do. So do not worry yourself about giving Hajj or Umrah or Udhiyah on behalf of the Prophet ﷺ. Rather worry about yourself. And of course you need to keep in mind, even though it's a good idea and it sounds great and it shows how much you love the Prophet ﷺ, but no one can compete with the companions of the Prophet ﷺ with regards to loving him, loving the Prophet ﷺ. And none of them have done anything like that simply because it was not prescribed. Thank you, Abu Fayyad from Qatar. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Yusuf from Nigeria. Yusuf. Okay, please try again, Yusuf. Sorry to miss this phone call. Mahbub from United Arab Emirates. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam, brother.
How are you, Mahbub?
Alhamdulillah, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, thank you for asking.
Okay. Brother, I have actually 3 short questions. The first one, it happened to me many times that I decided, actually, I make a niyah to for tahajjud, and I did not pray witr. And when it happened to me several times, when I wake up, it's already Fajr time. So how I make up my witr after Fajr?
Okay.
And my second question is regarding Qurbani. If I have more than 7 members in my family, so how I should handle the Qurbani? If I actually sacrifice a cow, should I mention that I'm doing it on behalf of only 7 people, or if I have 8 or 9 people, I can still go for 1 cow?
You're asking about your direct and immediate family members, those who are under your guardianship, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And my third question is, during Salah, like Tashahud, when I have to point my index finger, when I should stop doing it, after the Tashahud, or I do all the way until I read Darood as well, Dawood Ibrahim. Like, should I stop it when tashahud ends, or I should keep doing it until the end? Jazakallah khair, brother.
وجزاكم. Thank you, Mahbub. Hassan from Nigeria. Assalamu alaikum, Hassan.
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
Fine, I'm very fine.
Good, good,
I have
good.
one question.
I hear you.
88, yes. Can you hear me?
I hear you.
My question is that I have done a Umrah, but I forgot to do a Salah in Maqam Ibrahim. So is it the Umrah has been done Sahih?
Okay. Any other questions, Hassan?
This is the question now.
Okay. Thank you so much. Sister Arsha from Qatar. Assalamu alaikum, Arsha. Okay, please try again. Okay, well, we have Mahbub from the United Arab Emirates asked about three things. The first is that he intends to pray tahajjud, but he oversleeps. It seems like it's something that happens a lot. So he gets up at Fajr. When the person takes the proper means, such as going to sleep earlier and setting up your alarm, and you go to sleep and you don't get up, you get the reward of intending to pray tahajjud even though you overslept. But when the person goes to sleep very late and does not set up any alarm and says, I was planning to get up to pray tahajjud or planning to get up to pray fajr, and he does not. If it is a nafl, he will not be rewarded. But if it is a fard, like for fajr, somebody goes to sleep an hour or half hour before fajr and says, I'm planning to get up for fajr, it's very hard. You didn't get enough rest. And the shaitan normally puts the person to sleep approaching the prayer time, particularly fajr and isha. So in this case, he will be blameworthy if he misses the prayer. But for the nafl, he will be deprived from the reward. But if the person did his best, took the proper means, set up his alarm, and did not wake up, he gets a full reward of the good intention of praying tahajjud. Some people like Abu Bakr Siddiq, may Allah be pleased with him, prefer to pray witr, to pray whatever they want to pray of the nafli prayer, and witr before going to sleep. They prefer to be in the safe side. While we have another example, Umar ibn al-Khattab, may Allah be pleased with him. He was a man of a very strong will. He says, I want to wake up before Fajr to pray tahajjud. He doesn't have to set up an alarm. He would definitely wake up. So that's why he used to postpone witr. That's something that we learn from that. If you are regular in praying tahajjud and so on, then it is recommended to pray tahajjud and save the witr to the end. But if it is something that you want to begin and you're struggling with yourself, then I would advise you to pray witr before going to sleep. And if you get up, you can pray tahajjud as much as you want in even numbers without having to repeat the witr once again. Al-Udhiyah, the sacrifice, the qurbani. He said he is a family of 7 or 8 members. And I mentioned, for instance, that if you slaughter a camel, it's on behalf of 7. 7 families, not 7 family members. So for your family, the minimum is to slaughter a sheep. So if you slaughter a sheep, it will be sufficient if it meets the requirement. It will be sufficient for all the family members who are your immediate family members, whether they're 2, 4, 6, or 10 or more. This is a minimum, which I mean, if you want to slaughter more, if you want to slaughter a cow on your own or more, may Allah bless you. It's all good for you and your family members. As-sababa, with the index finger. I discussed the details of moving or pointing with as-sababa and moving in the tashahhud or in the sitting in the middle and the last sitting where you recite the Durud Sharif or At-Tahiyyat, and I mentioned the difference of opinions, and I would like to summarize that by saying that the hadith when the companion narrated that the Prophet ﷺ, he said he saw him pointing with it, يَدْعُو بِهَا وَيُحَرِّكُهَا. He was making dua and moving his index finger. So based on that, the scholar is different, because it does not have a clear explanation. Moving it right and left, up and down. Imam Abu Hanifa says when you say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, another Imam would say only at the time of negation, La ilaha. Another would say only at the confirmation, would say illallah. But the best is, Wallahu a'lam, the opinion of Imam Ahmad, when he concluded from the hadith, يَدْعُ بِهَا وَيُحَرِّكُهَا, that whenever you're making dua, you point with the index finger. So when you say, Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammad, this is a dua. By the end of the Durud Sharif, when you say, اللهم إني أعوذ بك من فتنة المحيا والممات وفتنة المسيح الدجال اللهم إني أعوذ بك من عذاب في النار وعذاب في القبر اللهم اغفر لي ما قدمت وما أخرت وما أسررت وما أعلنت. You're pointing with the index finger. So there is a room for all of that, whether to keep it stand still, pointing towards the Qibla, or you move it up and down, or according to Imam Malik, right and left. Wallahu ta'ala a'la وأعلم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Fatima from Nigeria.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you, Sheikh?
Alhamdulillah, Sister Fatima, thank you for asking.
Just two questions.
Go ahead, please.
My first question is it proper to allow your kids play with toys, dolls and teddy bears?
Okay.
Or to allow them watch sort of cartoons, Tom and Jerry, and so on.
Okay.
And then secondly, sometimes in my apartment, we are two. So my other neighbor has 2 kids too.
I didn't get the second question. Can you please repeat it again?
My second question?
Yeah.
You said?
Yes, can you repeat the second question, please?
Yes, that's what I'm telling you. I said in my house, we are 2 in the apartment. So my other neighbor has 2 kids, which were more older than my own daughter. So sometimes I kept her inside. I didn't allow her to go out play with us because I'm thinking they are much bigger than her. She will try to learn sort of other characters which are different from mine, which I'm teaching her at home. So I want to ask, is it fair or is it not fair?
For you to not let your kids go out with them, right?
Yes.
Okay, and you also mentioned that 2 families are living in the same flat.
No, we are just neighbors.
Neighbors, okay. So 2 independent or separate apartments.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Sister Fatima. We have Rafi'a from United Arab Emirates.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you, sister?
Good, how are you?
Alhamdulillah.
Okay, Sheikh, I want to ask you one question. This is concerning the prayers. What I want to know is that if a person in their lifetime hadn't prayed as much, but then they started praying, I'm concerned about the past prayers that I have missed, and I'd like to make up for it. Is there a way to do so? This is the question.
Yes, of course there is a way, and I will answer you inshallah. Thank you, Rafi'a from United Arab Emirates. Do you have any other questions? Okay, thank you. We have Brother Abrar from the KSA. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you doing, Sheikh?
Alhamdulillah, thank you for asking.
Jazakallah khair. May Allah bless you and the Muslim Ummah with Jannat al-Firdaus.
Ameen.
Sheikh, I just have one question, which is actually from my wife. The question is, if I give, or any person gives, who is the sole provider of the family, a charity, for example, to anyone, fi sabilillah. Now, the hasanat, because the wife does not work, so does the wife get any hasanat from that, or should she give from herself? Or because she is not working, she's saying, whatever comes, you're working, you give it to me, so I give it. Or if you're giving it, how does it work? Like, she thinks that, okay, if we give charity, it goes only in my account. I kept on telling her, no, it does not. But I would like to hear from you a clear explanation on this, please.
I love those kind of questions. I love to hear the couple really caring about each other, worried about each other. They want to share their word. That shows the kind of relationship between a couple in Islam, which is explained in a fantastic way in Surah Al-Rum, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. As-sukna, which is to find repose in your spouse, and the blessings of having mawaddah, ar-rahmah, reflects on all of that. It shows that it's not only about worrying about the future of the kids and what kind of school they go to and how much you will make and how much you will save and we want to buy a new house and the good deeds, the hasanat. Now I'm working outside and I want to donate. When I give in a charity, I get a reward for that. What about my spouse? Would she get a reward as well? If a woman donates from her husband's wealth, she gets rewarded and he gets a similar reward. So you can do it this way, that you give her some allowance where she donates out of that. She will be rewarded and you too will be rewarded because originally the money is provided by you. May Allah bless you all. Allahumma ameen. Hassan from Nigeria had performed Umrah before and he said he forgot to offer the 2 rak'ahs behind the maqam of Ibrahim, peace be upon him. What's maqam of Ibrahim? I know that we've watched the Hajj program repeatedly, and I guess everybody with now the audio, video, visualization and the graphics, you can figure out it is that stone which has the footprint of Prophet Ibrahim, peace be upon him, as he was stepping on it in order to reach higher levels of constructing the Kaaba. So it left the mark or the footprint of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. And it is mentioned in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فِيهِ آيَاتٌ بَيِّنَاتٌ مَقَامُ Ibrahim. There are clear signs around the Kaaba, such as the maqam of Ibrahim alayhi salam. That is the meaning of maqam Ibrahim. It is saved in a showcase, consists of glass and metal, and like in a golden fashion. Some people really misunderstand the whole concept of Hajj and they like to do some weird things, such as they come to Maqam Ibrahim, they wipe their faces, their clothes, their ihram, their scarves. All of that is haram. There is just a stone inside that reminds us that this is the footprint of our forefather Ibrahim alayhi salam as he was building the Kaaba. It was initially attached to the Kaaba. That was the original position of that stone because he used to step on it to reach out. But Umar ibn Khattab, due to the expansion of the Muslim Ummah, moved it further away so that the people can perform tawaf. Because among the sunnah of at-tawaf, among the sunnah, the traditions of at-tawaf, which does not affect the validity nor the completeness of tawaf, is to pray 2 rak'ahs after completing the tawaf. And it's also recommended to be behind Maqam Ibrahim, which means to have Maqam Ibrahim in front of you. And also to recite in the first rak'ah after Surah Al-Fatiha, Surah Qul Ya Ayyuha Al-Kafirun, and in the second rak'ah after Al-Fatiha, Surah Al-Ikhlas, Qul Huwa Allahu Ahad. Just imagine if Umar ibn Khattab, may Allah be pleased with him, 1400 years ago, had to move it further away from the Kaaba because of the crowd. Imagine now, hundreds of thousands every hour in the haram, especially during these seasons. When somebody wants to pray there, I believe he is really obstructing the tawaf way and making it hard and difficult for people. He may be bearing a sin as a result of that. The purpose of as-salah is to enjoy it, to have concentration and khushu'. There is no way whatsoever, if you ever try to pray in front of people who are performing tawaf, that you can pay attention to a bit of your prayer. In addition to hurting others and causing a lot of mess. So, Akhi Hassan, not praying behind Maqam Ibrahim, even if it is accessible, does not affect the validity of your Umrah. You do not owe in a penalty, you did not commit a sin. And now I believe, and Allah knows best, I intend to earn a reward by finding a place far away from Maqam Ibrahim, all the way behind the people who are performing tawaf, behind at-ta'ifin, in order to pray in khushu' and in order to give room for those who are performing tawaf. Likewise, with regards to touching or kissing the black stone, keeping peace at the haram is a must. Kissing or touching the black stone whenever it's accessible is a sunnah. And the Prophet ﷺ ordered Umar ibn Khattab to step away, to step back, because Umar Khattab was huge, humongous, and powerful. So he was afraid that he might, while trying to kiss the black stone, end up hurting somebody, pushing, shoving somebody. So he ordered him to stay back. It will be sufficient to point with your right hand from a distance, like you're warming your hand before fire. Not with both hands, with the right hand. Bismillah, Allahu Akbar, and you move on. So your Umrah is valid. And not praying behind Maqam Ibrahim does not affect your Umrah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We have Saadiya and we have Safiya, both from Nigeria. So Saadiya from Nigeria. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, salam, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Go ahead, Sister Saadiya.
Jazakallahu khairan.
Wa jazakum.
For all your good work.
Ameen.
And questions. I have one question.
Yes.
I want to ask, like, if when I'm reading the Quran and then the azan is being called, so do I stop the Quran? Do I stop reading the Quran and do the dua after the azan? Or do I continue with reading the Quran?
Okay, your second question?
And then, my second question is regarding zakah for gold.
Yep.
But that is the women gold that we use, like our bangles and earrings. Do we get zakah for it?
Okay. Thank you, Sister Saadiya. Safiya from Nigeria. Assalamu alaikum. Okay, please try again, Sister Safiya. Sorry to miss your call. Fatima from Nigeria had a question about baby dolls, babies playing with dolls and watching cartoons. It is permissible for them to play with dolls and keep them in the room. That does not really apply to the hadith which you mentioned does not apply to the dolls, because the Prophet ﷺ witnessed Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, when she was young and she was having the toys and the dolls, some of them were in the form of horses, and did not object to that. Okay, but the objection is to the dolls which have the figures of real images, like real babies. Not to that extent. We're talking about handmade dolls, or even those which are manufactured on a large scale, but not with the very, very details of living creatures. Watching cartoons, likewise, I hope it is not accompanied with music, and it is also recommended to watch the contents. The cartoon is very, very dangerous. Sometimes it delivers a fatal message to the children. So one has to pay attention to that. Perhaps join your children watching it once or twice, especially if you have it pre-recorded. There are some channels, good channels, which provide cartoons without music, so you can download these cartoons and play them for your children. Of course, no problem with that, inshallah. Jazakumullahu khairan. And let's take a short break, and inshallah we'll join you back in a couple of minutes, so stay tuned.
لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا.
This is part of our deen. This is part of our iman. That when we go for Hajj, we should not have the intentions that once we go back to the same old habits. One of these meanings that we learn in the journey of Hajj is how to be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we learn how to reach it in the journey of Hajj. And this is something that we learn in the journey of Hajj by pondering over the verses in the Quran. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned that in the Quran in Surah Al-Hajj. And that's why a Muslim in the journey of Hajj, in all of our life, a Muslim should be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for those who are making Hajj to accept their Hajj, and for those who were not able to make Hajj, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide them to make them and give them the means to perform this act of worship.
لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك لا شريك لك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك.
Seen him on the righteous companions. You've seen him on the inevitable journey. We want the Muslim home to be a Muslim home. You have 30 episodes to teach us how to build a better future. Ready, set, go.
And all of these are ideas.
Yeah.
We got to be creative.
What are our tools? Bubblegum, Mickey Mouse, Starbucks, American movies, foreign films. Is this going to produce a good generation of Muslims?
In order to produce that generation, Malik,
yes,
there are 3 institutions. That generation, we want to produce that generation to be those men. Sisters, go back to your religion, go back to your deen.
We're talking about the next generation. You're going to hear me say that phrase a lot, the next generation. I'm not talking about Star Trek. They had this chart, Sheikh, it shows a small monkey and then like a bigger monkey and a bigger monkey.
That new generation, that better future. Even in the West, they say a family that prays together stays together.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back. We already have Sister Arsha back on the line. Assalamu alaikum. Arsha from Qatar.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah, Sheikh. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. Thank you for asking, Sister Arsha.
Yeah. I think 2 weeks ago I asked you 2 questions. You answered me one, but I have some confusion. Like I don't know whether you remember or not. I also emailed it. And do you want to hear that question?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. The question was that a man works in a company where they are now opening a restaurant which will serve alcohol. But the people who are working in the finance department, in the HR department or transport department.
I remember the question, and it was answered in the same episode that the question was asked.
Yes, but they are not directly involved with the restaurant, but they are watching over the accounts and other things.
Let me repeat the answer quickly. If a company opens, a company is running a halal and a lawful business. People are working in the firm in this department, and it has other investments. They decided to open a restaurant to serve alcohol or pork or whatever. This is haram. as long as my work is not involved in the other department, I do not get my salary from them, I do not serve them, whether directly or indirectly, then my earning is halal. My work is halal. But an accountant who's doing the accounting for both the halal and the haram, then his money is mixed, halal and haram. One should only work in the halal and avoid the haram. And this is what I said last time, the brothers or the employees who are working in the initial first department, which have nothing to do with the restaurant serving alcohol, their earning is halal. And it does not affect them that the company decided to invest in haram.
Okay. And I want to ask a simple question. But many people say in my family that it is not compulsory for men to perform the 5 daily prayers in the masjid. If a man prays at home, is it a sin or he should pray in the mosque?
Al-Jumhur, which means the vast majority of the scholars, based on many references, are of the view that men who are capable to perform the prayers in the masjid must and should perform the prayer in the masjid. The difference is whether the prayer is valid still if a man who is able to pray in the masjid prays at home rather, or at the store. There is a khilaf in this mas'ala. And Allah knows best, because the Prophet ﷺ said, if a man prays in the masjid, the reward for this prayer will be 27 times greater than praying at home or at shop. That means the prayer will be valid, but he will be committing the sin of missing the prayer in the masjid. This is the opinion of the vast majority of the scholars. We have many references. Take for instance the case of the great companion Abdullah ibn Maktoum, may Allah be pleased with him, who was a blind man, who came to the Prophet ﷺ to be excused from attending the early morning prayer and the late one because he did not have a guide. He was blind. And the Medina was not that secure in the past. Roads were not paved. There are some wild animals, dogs, fox, whatever. So the Prophet ﷺ initially allowed him. He gave him that concession. He said, yes, you don't have to attend these prayers. Once he left, and before he's gone far away, he received the wahy. So the Prophet ﷺ called him back and he said, can you hear the adhan? He said, yes. He said, then you must answer it. An-nida, which is the adhan, calling on the ummah to attend the prayer. Men, of course. So when the muaddin says, Hayya ala salah, Hayya ala al-falah, come you all to the prayer, come you all to success, men who are capable and nearby the masjid, and it won't burden them to attend the salah, should attend the prayer in the masjid on regular basis. Wallahu a'lam. Thank you, Sister Asha. Samira from Qatar. Sister Samira.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Is this Samira or Muhammad from the KSA?
Yes.
Okay, that's Muhammad. Samira from Qatar. Okay.
Qatar, yes. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. How are you?
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you, Samira?
Alhamdulillah. Sheikh, I've just got 2 questions. Myself and my husband, we performed Hajj Tamattu when we were residing in Jeddah. We were told that the people who reside in Jeddah need not do Tawaf-e-Wida.
Tawaful Wada'.
Tawaf-e-Wida.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, that was not true. That was not true. No. You still owe Tawaful Wada', and of course, since you guys are gone, you can make up this by offering the penalty of slaughtering a sheep per each person. One for you and one for your husband to be slaughtered and distributed in Mecca. Tawaf al-Wada' is a wajib, is a mandatory act.
We have to distribute in Mecca itself, or can it be in the place we are residing in now, Sheikh?
No, it's got to be slaughtered and distributed amongst the Meccans in Mecca. It won't be sufficient to slaughter it in Qatar, nor in Cairo, Egypt.
Okay, thanks.
Okay?
Okay, the second question, Sheikh.
Mm-hmm.
So, in the fourth prayer, can we make dua in our own language while in sujood, or has it to be in Arabic?
If you do not know Arabic, then you may make the dua in your own mother tongue, whether in the nafl or the fard. I know this question bothers every non-Arabic speaker, and for some reason they have a lot of doubts in this regard. So I'm repeating it over and over and over. لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. Allah does not lay any command on people beyond their capacity, more than they can afford. If you do not know Arabic, if you just accepted Islam, aren't you allowed to make dua? If the Prophet ﷺ has said the best time to make dua is while you are in sujood, that means in the prayer. So am I missing the best because simply I'm not an Arab? Of course not. Make dua in your own language if you do not know Arabic. Of course, we encourage everybody to memorize Quran and Ahadith and learn how to make dua in Arabic and so on. But currently, my son is having a problem. My daughter is having a conflict with her husband, or she's given birth. I don't know how to say in Arabic, oh Allah, make it easy for them, oh Allah, solve the problem. Am I stuck? Am I not allowed to make dua simply because I'm an Urdu speaker, or I speak English or French or whatever language other than Arabic? Of course not. اتقوا الله ما استطعتم. So you can make dua in your mother tongue as long as you don't know Arabic or you don't know how to phrase the dua in Arabic. Barakallahu fikum, Samir. Abdullah from Nigeria. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum wa barakatuh, Sheikh. Alhamdulillah. Please, I have a question. Just one question for you, please, Sheikh. Can I go ahead?
I hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Please, while a Muslim is fasting, how, if I can put it this way, how is going to be the judgment in case for any reason or reasons a fasting Muslim had a mani or mazi comes out of his body? Will he repeat the fasting alone for all the above, the two reasons above, or who is going to pay one, or is going to pay kapar for the three?
Okay, Abdullah, I tried my best to get your question. So would you please slow down, and inshallah we'll go over the question together again, slowly. Okay. You're talking about the judgment day, aren't you?
Not a judgment day, a fasting Muslim.
A fasting Muslim?
A Muslim who is fasting.
A fasting Muslim.
Yes.
Okay, somebody was fasting. Yeah, what about him?
And he loses the fasting by a careless, or by any means he loses either for mazi coming out of his body or mani coming out of his body. What is going to be the judgment? I mean, will he repeat that fasting?
You're asking, okay. You're asking about the sexual discharge during fasting, whether mani or madhi.
Yes.
And what is the ruling concerning that?
Yes.
That's why I said the judgment. Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
If it happens without stimulation, then there is no blame on the person, whether it's he or she. But if the person stimulates himself till he reaches to that extent, then the fasting in the case of al-mani is invalid. And the person must make up the day. And he's committed a sin. But if that mani, the sexual discharge, was as a result of having a complete intercourse, then he or she or both are in deep trouble. Because in this case, they will be required to fast for 60 consecutive days, in addition to making up the day and repenting unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, it is entirely prohibited to approach your spouse, sexually of course, while fasting. That is the judgment with regards to al-mani. And al-madhi is different, because al-madhi is due to mere thinking about it without stimulation, and it may produce a drop or so, which is different than in the physical characteristics and in the way that it is discharged. Entirely different than al-mani. Thank you, Abdullah. Jazakallah khairan. Saadiyya from Nigeria asked about if somebody is reading the Quran and you hear the adhan, what should you do? Okay, there is plenty of time to read the Quran or resume reading the Quran after the adhan is over. But the time of the adhan is only limited for the adhan. What do you mean with that? I mean with that there is a hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ says, there is an act that if you do it, you shall receive the virtues of doing this good deed, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. But you have to do it at this particular time. So wajib al-waqt at the time of the adhan, it is recommended to repeat after the mu'adhin, as he says. In the hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, إِذَا سَمِعْتُمُ الْمُؤَذِّنَ فَقُولُوا مِثْلَ مَا يَقُولُ. Whenever you hear the mu'adhin, the caller to the prayer, then repeat after him. And we all know that we repeat the same, except in the case of حَيَّ عَلَى الصَّلَاةِ or حَيَّ عَلى الْفَلَاحِ, we say لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله instead. Then ثم سلوا الله لي الوسيلة. Then ask Allah to grant me al-wasila. What's al-wasila? It is a rank, a position that is prepared for one of Allah's servants on the hereafter, in the hereafter. And the Prophet ﷺ said is appointed only for one of Allah's servants, and I hope that it will be me. And he was promised to be given this wasila. So we say, اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت محمدا الوسيلة والفضيلة وابعثه مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته. When you say so, the Prophet ﷺ promises the person who would do that, حلت له شفاعتي. He will be eligible for my intercession on the Day of Judgment. So that is limited to the time of the adhan. That's why I say, well, I like to read Quran. Fine. You can continue reading Quran soon after the adhan finishes. How much time would it take? 2 minutes? 3 minutes? Then say the dua, send the peace and the blessings upon the Prophet ﷺ, and say the previous dua as I said, in order to be eligible for the Prophet's intercession on the Day of Judgment. Okay? So there is no overlapping, no conflict of interest. Zakah on gold, the 1 million time question. There is a khilaf or a dispute or difference of opinions between the scholars. Imam Abu Hanifa is the one whom I adopt his view in this regard, where he adopted the view that women should pay, or their guardians should pay zakah on their gold positions, even if it is for adornment, if it reaches the nisab by itself or in addition to other positions. The nisab is equivalent to 85 grams of gold or 595 grams of silver by itself or in addition to other positions. This is what I do with my family, with my spouse, with my mom, with my... So I choose to pay the zakah on gold. The other opinion of Al-Jumhur, that if it is used for adornment, then it is like clothes, like garments, that they do not owe zakah on it. هذا والله تعالى أعلى وأعلم وأقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. And until next time, brothers and sisters, I leave you in the care of Allah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Allah is my heart's speech, your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test.